Hello YouTubers, here, and welcome to a Banlist discussion video for the July 2016 ban list. So I'm doing this early again. It was successful last time, and hopefully you'll have the same success this time. If you have any conflicting views to these cards I put on this list, please let me know down below in the comments. I always like to hear your thoughts about this. And we don't know when we will get this ban list. It's most likely going to be near the end of July, possibly August, but more likely after Worlds, since Worlds is so much prominent in that area. It's probably going to be after that. It doesn't really make sense to having a ban list there before Worlds and then do Worlds and then have another ban list to possibly hit the cards that win, because you usually do hit the archetypes that do win Worlds. So there are some special cases in this video that I will discuss afterwards. So currently I have 2 forbidden cards, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12 limited cards, and a few cards that will be hopefully coming off the ban list. And then there's some special cases and possible cards that won't come off, but people will want these to come off. And then possible ones hits in the future. So without further ado, let's go into this list. First, Monkey Board banned. We cannot actually work with a 1-card scale. It is too strong. Even with the Wavering Eyes hits, it is still very searchable, very abusable with matches back to Unicorn, and it will just cause problems as we continue in the format. It will continue to allow Dracopals to thrive, and if they want to help metal foes become meta, these Dracopals have to be defeated, and the way you can do that is by banning Monkey Board. That stops them having a 1-card scale. Then we also banned is Elder Entity Norden. This is only banned if we get the Elder Entities and Elder Entities imported into the TCG, or Super Polymerization back in the TCG. They have it at 1 in the OCG, and it can be used as a way of getting some success from Metamorphosis, since Metamorphosis have generic fusion monsters. But if we put this in the game when Elder Entity is still in the game, this becomes extremely overpowered, because you can just fuse away their Titanic Galaxy or Raphelsia or something like that to summon out your own Norden and get a plus from it, essentially, which is too abusable, essentially. So banning Norden is only really appropriate if we get the other entities and the Super Polymerization. If we don't, then Elder Entity 1 is completely fine. Then onto the limited cards. We have, for the Dracopal hits, the 4-power Pendulum Sorcerer and Pendulum Call. Pendulum Call is another engine that Dracopals can use to essentially keep themselves in the game. And if the 4-power engine becomes too weak for them, they will probably go to the Magician engine. And therefore we need to hit the Pendulum Call to make sure that that doesn't happen and Metamorphosis can now thrive in that meta. And then Pendulum Sorcerer is quite abusable, searches out your pendulum skills and allows you to get a lot of draws power, and it's just very abusable. Even if you have this card at 1 scale in hand, you can basically get your Monkey Ball, your Joker, whatever you need for that position, and searching out 2 cards is a bit too broken for this game at the moment. Then onto demonic hits. 1 to Domain, 1 Pantheism, and 1 Stormforth is hopefully what they will do. Stormforth is the most unlikely of the hits, mainly because the other 2 hits were the prime targets for Monarchs getting hit in the OCG, and Stormforth allows them still to compete, but it is a really annoying card for people to deal with. This is probably a little bit of salt on my part because I don't like Stormforth, but it's a potential hit. If they feel that Monarchs will still be able to thrive in the meta, then they may hit Stormforth to hopefully stop that happening. And then Pantheism and Domain are more likely to be definite hits because they got hit in the UCG and it was more or less successful. It killed Domain Monarchs. Domain Monarchs are not a thing in the OCG anymore. I think there was only 1 or 2 that topped, and that was really early in the format. Now there's more or less all extra deck Monarchs, and they go into Vanity Stun now. But essentially, hitting Pantheism and Domain will take away the problematic card that stops you playing with the extra deck. Basically, like towers, you have to have the out or you can't play the game, and their consistency the draw engine and the search engine. I don't think they should have made it both cards, to be fair. If they had given one of each, I think it would have been a lot more fair and Pavism could have been in the game a lot more longer, but with them both being combined, it's too abusable and too powerful for the deck, so we really need those hits. Hitting the consistency will more or less allow them to brick more and hopefully allow other decks to compete more effectively against them. Then for the Cosmo hits, there are 4 Cosmo hits on this list because they didn't get hit on the last list very effectively because E-Telly to 2 doesn't really hurt them that much. But this is a few hits for different versions of Cosmo. The main pure hit is Cosmo Dark Destroy to 1, and that is because it's their toolbox and it's a key card for them just to unbrick and do their multiple pilot combos. It's a very powerful card, and I don't think it should be forbidden because it isn't too abusable. You can recycle it with Cosmo Tower, but if you hit Cosmo Tower as well, it's not as abusable, and it should be fair enough for us to actually play with this card. Then for a hit on Demise, that is Cosmo Tin Can. Demise has only just started to become a prominent threat for the TCG, and Tin Can Demise is one of those annoying decks that we'll have to deal with. So hitting Tin Can would be very good to shut down the Demise variant. I don't think it would even be able to compete as a Demise variant compared to the other Demise variants in this TCG at the moment if Tin Can goes to 1. Originally Tin Can wasn't on this list until Demise Tin Can came around. Then a hit to Fire King Cosmo, and that is Cosmo Town to 1. Fire King Cosmo isn't as consistent as a lot of other Cosmos, but it is very strong. And hitting Cosmo Town will stop that abusability and stop that engine. Probably kill Fire King Cosmo as a concept. It won't be as effective. You would have to have they would have to have only one Cosmo Town deck. They may have to increase the terraformings, even though that's usually maxed, or they'd have to increase the Viking Islands. Something would have to change to actually make them compete effectively, and that can really hurt the consistency and hopefully allow other decks to play against them more effectively. And then E-Telly to 1, we all know this should have gone to 1 last ban list, and again, it should still go to 1 to stop the Power Girl OTK and stuff like that. It is very, very abusable. Particularly also in Demise variants, because you can just shovel back the Cosmo monsters that you don't want, and if you have an E-Telly in hand, you can just draw low traps, activate your teleport, and basically do what Demise does for them. So yeah. Onto the Burning Abyss hits. There is one, hopefully Scam to 1 and Dante to 1. So effectively, this is to basically shut down the system, the engine itself. The Burning Abyss engine is still very abusable, but they have been in the meta for quite some time, about 2 years now, and I don't think any deck should be meta for 2 years. So Scam to 1 would kill the consistency, and Dante to 1 would kill their renewal and shut down the Beatrice very effectively. So hopefully those would hit them, and we won't have to deal with Burning Abyss as effectively anymore. It will probably turn into Phantom Knights, more or less. The final card that should be limited is Solemn Strike. This is a hit for Demise variants, as it is quite abusable. Although most of the Demise variants only run two of this, it is sometimes used as a free of. It can be used in basically anything, and Ariadne is still strong. Even though Wavering Eyes is hit, it's still going to be a very strong thing, and having multiple Solemn Strikes is going to be very negative. Particularly with Metamorphosis coming along in the meta, we will have to deal with Ariadne Metamorphosis, and that will be annoying for us to deal with. So Solemn Strike to 1 would hit both Demise and preemptively hit Metamorphosis, so they're not 100% the most overpowered pendant deck in the TCG at that moment. Next, onto the cards that I think should come off the list gradually or completely. The first of this is Harpy's Feather Duster. We kind of need this now with Demise so rampant in the TCG. This would definitely hit them. That instant blow away of their back row basically counteracts card Demise completely. As long as they don't run huge revolutions over or Magic Drain, then we should be completely fine with this. There is an argument for Regeki and Habits of Justice completely board wiping, but most cards nowadays float, and therefore Habits of Justice isn't as strong. If we had gave us back Heavy Storm, then it would be abusable with stuff like Ariadne and stuff that floats with our own cards, particularly with Metamorphosis, because their combination floats and it doesn't require you to actually have it face up to be destroyed, and it doesn't have to be destroyed by its card effect. Therefore, Heavy Storm is a lot more stronger than Harpy's Feather Duster, and Harpy's Feather Duster is more fair, like Regeki is compared to Dark Hole, possibly, because some decks run Dark Hole over Regeki, mainly Cosmo though. Then on to Monster Reborn. This is a huge plus for DD and Blue Eyes. It's the staple in their OCG forms, so it probably will be a staple in this. We've had this card in the game for quite some time, and I don't believe it'd do too much against the meta. Therefore, it's very likely that this could come back, particularly to endorse Blue Eyes and DDDs, which will both be meta decks when we get the support for them. Next, Book of Moon to 2 and Compulsory Evacuation Device at 2. These old staple cards really don't deserve to be on the ban list anymore. They are not overpowered. It's mainly player preference if you're going to run these cards, and you'd rather want to run them at max to have any actual plus from them. And essentially they're not good against the meta. They're targeting, therefore they don't really do much against Monarchs, they don't do much against Cosmo, don't do much against Blue Eyes with their Chaos Max, so it doesn't do much of anything, to be fair. They don't deserve to be on the ban list. They just don't, but the gradual reintroduction of these staples should be done instead. I don't think they'll come completely back to 3, I think that would be too strong, but going back to 2 would be decent, a gradual introduction of the deck. Then Insector Hornet to 2 or 3. This is the prime time for Insector Hornet to actually come off the list, since there is a crossover between Insectors and Metamorphosis, and that can endorse Metamorphosis' success in the TCG, and basically give back the Insector Hornet. It's the prime time to do this, and I think if this is the only time we can actually gain any plus from getting this back in the TCG. It may also help Digital Bugs to actually play in the TCG, but it's highly unlikely because Digital Bugs are really inconsistent. And then Debris Dragon to 3. It doesn't do much of anything. Kinda helps with Coral Dragon coming along in the meta, in the TCG, in Dark Illusions, so Debris Dragon maybe uses an endorsement for that. It really doesn't do more or less anything. Then on to special cases, and that is Magispector, Raccoon Bumbuku, and Card of Demise. I don't think Card of Demise should be on the list, although a lot of people who play against Demise variants really do hate this card. It's just not that broken. Sometimes it's a very high risk factor, and with the introduction of Pot Cupidity to the game in the Dark Illusion set, it will be played a lot more over Card Demise. I mean, there's a Hero Demise variant in OCG that runs only 2 Demise and playset of Pot Cupidity. Most decks can play Pot Cupidity, not every deck can play Card Demise, and it's not consistently topping the events. It does top high amounts, but not to the top 4s and sometimes top 8s. It doesn't do that on a very consistent level that something like Cosmo or Monarchs or PK Fire have done. So I don't think it's that abusable. However, if either a Card Demise variant tops Worlds or Magispector variant tops Worlds, including Metamorphosis Magispector, I think these two could get hits to 1 on that list, because they usually do hit decks that can win Worlds. The only one that hasn't actually been hit was Tellers, although they did have a pseudo Rota hit to 1. But essentially, if they get success in Worlds, they should get hit then. But that's the only way I can see them getting hit on this ban list. On the next ban list, probably Raccoon to 1 is a possibility, because Metamorphosis will be in full swing then. Then on to the cards we could consider as possibilities to come off this list or possibilities to not come off this list completely. The first of this is Super Polarization. This is an endorsement for Metamorphosis, as it is very abusable in that deck. They confuse away your annoying monsters to bring out something that is decent, like Cardinal or Adamante, but they're not broken fusion monsters. If we still have Elder Density Norden, it can't come back at all, so you have to hit Norden to actually get this back. Then there's Stratos. People always want Stratos back, but it's really not going to come back on this list. I feel that it will definitely come back when we get the TCG support for the Destiny heroes, and we have to wait for that set to actually come out. And I think that's near the end of this year, so I think the perfect time to bring Stratos back would be to reprint it in that set and give it back to 1. It would be perfect timing, indeed. But for now, there's no plus from unbanning Stratos. Next is Cyber-Stein. This could be also used in endorsement as Metamorphosis, but I think it's too much of a problem card in the OCG at the moment. So I don't think it has any guarantee coming back on this next list, so I didn't put in the actual list itself. Although I do love this card so much. Then there's Gateway of the 6. They don't get any plus from Gateway of the 6, and 6 Samurai haven't done anything in the OCG except for one time, and that was very recently with Gateway to 2, but Gateway to 1 or 2 really won't make 6 Samurai too strong. It isn't as abusable as people originally think. Well, except if they open up good. If they don't open up good enough, they won't be competing against Meta very effectively. Next is Solemn Judgment. I do think this could come back to 1, but I only want to put 2 banned cards on this actual list, so I don't think Solemn Judgment would actually help with that. Particularly if I'm hitting Solemn Strike, it goes against the list essentially. And then there's Matey. We should have this back. We really should, but I don't think the TCG will get this back for a while until they reprint it, and I don't see any reprints of this coming up anytime soon. And then there's other cards that we could consider in the next list, and the first of these is Clifford Scout completely banned. This is because it's abusable in Metamorphosis. I'll leave a link to Druidol's video on Metamorphosis where she's able to use this engine to basically summon out Cyber-Dragon Infinity, and it's pretty good, particularly if you're not using Community, but she does use it in that video. But essentially, it shows you why Scout is too strong in the game at the moment. It would kill Cleeford Demise, which is a variant that people don't like to go against, and it would stop that abusability of Cyber-Dragon Infinity again, because so many decks can now abuse it. Then there's possibilities for Max C and Terraforming getting hit on the next ban list, because if we keep getting too abusable field spells like Cosmo Town, Domain, Sky Iris, Terraforming will start to look more and more prominent as a hittable card, like Upstart Goblin was, for consistency issues. To cause consistency issues, I should say. Maxi again will be very abusable in the next format. More or less every deck will probably run this card, because Domain is going to be banned. It's down to 1, and there won't be any Domain variants, so we'll have more or less all decks special summoning, except from Demise variants. So Maxi is very abusable in the upcoming format, particularly for something like Blue Eyes. So a hit for this, the next ban list over, could be a possibility as well. So yeah, thank you for watching. Please leave your comments below if you've got any suggestions that I should have put in this ban list, or any things you think I completely got wrong. I would like to hear your thoughts, and thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe if you enjoyed this and want to see further content. Please leave comments below if you've got suggestions for my decks, or suggestions for my channel in general. If you want to see when I'm streaming, the link to my Facebook page is in the description below, where I'll put my information up for that. Thank you for watching. Matt Durant, signing out.